The bus ride on September 4th, 1969, is spectacularly clear in my mind. Earlier that morning, about a dozen of us, all draftees, had been inducted into the Army, and we were on our way to Fort Dix for basic training. What did you talk about with a stranger on the way to war? In those days, you talked about how you ended up on that bus. All the conversations were about failure to avoid the draft. Couldn't find a physician to certify an injury, couldn't get a draft-deferred job, didn't have any political connections to get into the National Guard, failed a course and lost a student deferment. Not then, nor in any of the time I spent in the Army or in Vietnam, did I meet a single person who had gone to war because he believed in the administration's policy or because he felt the Viet Cong were a genuine threat to American freedom. Maybe such people existed and simply escaped my acquaintance. In the rare moments when we tried to put a noble face on what we were doing, we spoke of fighting for our country. Politicians might say those words with a straight face, but the grunts couldn't. The Vietnam I saw in 1970 was, of course, a country under siege. Yet even in the darkest moments, the beauty of the place and its people shone through. So often I thought, if only we could stop burying it in bomb craters, what a country this could be. I was awfully happy to leave in April of 1971, just in time to get home for the first birthday of the son I'd never seen. I left Vietnam, but Vietnam never left me. As the years passed, the hope grew that I might find a way to return. In 2011, I applied to be a Fulbright professor in Vietnam. On my application, I wrote, 40 years ago, I was drafted into a war I did not support and sent to fight an enemy I did not hate. Yet in the midst of the agonies of war, I came to develop a deep affection for the ingenuity and endurance of the Vietnamese people and for the powerful beauty of their country. Those feelings have never dimmed. I would like to return now, unarmed and unashamed, on a more positive mission, to help the people of Vietnam in every way my skills and experience will permit. I look forward to this, not as a guilt trip, but as the most important opportunity I will ever have to write the balance sheet of my life. Well, that application succeeded, and in January of 2012, my wife, Sarah Vos Mackenzie, of Colby class of 1970, also a Fulbright professor, and I flew to Hanoi and began a 6-month stay in Vietnam. I was assigned to the Institute of American Studies, a Vietnamese government agency whose task was to help the country's leaders better understand America and its foreign policies. At the invitation of Colby, I offer here, in words and photographs, a reflection on the powerful ways in which my life has been shaped and enriched by Vietnam and its people. There is a curious sort of ugliness here. It's not a natural ugliness. Left to its own devices, this is a beautiful place, but rather a man-made plague. We've taken a green and fertile country and made it red and dusty. We have developed a peculiar Vietnam odor, which is a wretched blend of diesel fuel, gunpowder, road dust, decaying garbage, human sweat, and burning shit. Most GIs say that you never forget this smell after you get back to the States, and I suspect I shan't. Both of the NCOs who ran our platoon in infantry training came to the CAV at about the same time I did. Both are now dead. These were not stupid men. They were young and eager, but not experienced. War is a hard teacher. The price is high for failing the exam. The landscape is dotted, nay, shot through, with thousands upon thousands of artillery and bomb craters. How many thousands of rounds, how many millions of dollars do these craters represent? One wonders what marvels of good could have been done with the huge sums of money that we have spent to make holes in a jungle. After more than a year here, it still irritates me when I hear someone say you can't understand the war in Vietnam until you've been to Vietnam. Well, damn it, I've been to Vietnam for more than a year, and I'm more perplexed than ever. There's a quiet power to the place. Gentle nights follow harsh days. When it's hot, it's insufferably hot. When it rains incessantly. When storm clouds threaten, they threaten menacingly. Hemingway would like it here. Vietnam has machismo. I'll never forget my friend Charlie O'Neill, a devout Catholic with two sisters who are nuns, forced to assign replacements to combat units and knowing that many of those he sent there would come home in body bags. After a while, he could only work at night, hoping that maybe God would not see his sins so clearly in the dark. When I was in infantry training and becoming expert with an M16 and bayonet, I used to look around me and see all the young and innocent faces. I'd think to myself that while they could teach these people to shoot, they could never teach them to kill. And yet it seems like every day now I cross paths with someone I knew then, and each has some new war story to tell me. These people I thought incapable of killing have become rather expert and ingenious at it. I had hoped to be young forever, to live in the brightness of unstinting optimism, to know that things would always work out. But now I'm afraid that I'll leave my youth behind me here. You cannot watch all these young men slowly losing their sanity and not knowing it. You cannot see the same stumbling, inept mistakes made over and over again by fools. You cannot smell the smell and see the dark sights of death without losing a very valuable part of your youth in the process. I will come home, and I will be older in so many ways, and you will sense that. 41 years have passed, and now the circle closes. Here, of all unimaginable places, in Hanoi. What now for me, Vietnam? What now, Vietnam? Indeed, the same question I asked myself in Benoit on February 10th, 1970. War, like cancer, is an affliction without a cure. It's never completely gone. But every day here now in this beautiful country, the black tumor on my soul shrinks a little. This afternoon I gave a speech in the National Assembly building. There I was in Hanoi, standing under the communist flag, the bust of Ho Chi Minh over my shoulder, talking to people from the legislature of Vietnam about how America chooses a president, explaining elections in a country that fears them. The horizon of my imagination 42 years ago could never have reached this far, not even close. At the Fulbright conference today, I gave a talk comparing my time here during the war with my experience now. Afterward, Du Ho Chong came up to me in tears and told me she wished her grandmother could have heard me describe the disaffection from the war that so many GIs felt. She had dug a hole in the hill behind our house in 1969 when I was a baby, Chu Hong said. When the B-52s came, she would put me in the hole and cover it so I would be safe. She was sure that all the Americans hated us and wanted to kill the babies. Vietnam poses many challenges, of course, but so rewarding when the challenges are met. It's chaotic, noisy, hot, sometimes dangerous. But I felt closer to humanity here, more in touch with the human condition than anywhere I've ever been. Vietnam fills up the senses. At 6 in the morning, the streets and alleys are full of little markets with everyone out doing the food shopping for the day. There are flowers and vegetables and fruits of every kind, tables covered with pork and chicken, fish swimming in tubs, live chickens and ducks in cages ready for purchase, slaughter, and plucking. The morning comes alive at daybreak, and it vibrates. At midday, when the heat is nigh, it gets quiet and somber. Hard to find a business open or a Zeom to ride. Things come alive again later in the afternoon, and the evening rush hour is madness squared. In the evening, the sidewalks are full of people eating and drinking bia hoi, playing games and chattering away. Later, there are still plenty of eaters. Vietnamese never stop eating. And cafe and tea drinkers in all the cafes. The rhythm is the same almost every day, but the beat never stops. I have loved it here.